course, you're welcome once again to the most interesting part of your morning. And this is a TVC Breakfast. And of course, I am Theophilus Elama, and I'm here with my co-host, Adebanke Oduni. Thank you very much for that report.
Thank you.
All right, so today we will be taking a sort of serious route, talking about issues that could help our musicians and artists in their future business dealings. We'll be discussing the payment of royalties to artists and with record labels. And this issue actually came to light after the death of Mohbad, when there was a debate on who owned the money made by his music. Now, to discuss this is someone that we all know. Of course, if you're aware of the Junior and Pretty fame, you realize that we have Pretty in the studio. Thank you very much for coming.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Good morning. So, you are the newly elected president of PIMA. Let me start from there. You have been president, and this is your second term now, which will start in like January, right?
Yeah, February.
Yes, February. So, how has it been? How much of a job is this for you?
It's crazy. This much. I came in when the union was in moribund situation, so it created more difficulties to bring it out of where it was to where it is now. So it gave me attitude to pay so much attention to the union so that I could change the perception, I could change the thinking, the mentality of the union. Okay. And that's why it took this long. But luckily, we've been able to, I won't say we've arrived, we've been able to change it, we've been able to give it a home. We've been able to do what they haven't done for the past 40 years. We've been able to create ownership of some sort. You are where we own our own building, our own edifice now. We own our own radio station. We have P-Man FM in Lagos. We have P-Man FM in Abuja. So it's crazy. Yes, we did that between 2020 and judgment came to 2022, so it's crazy. Just between 2 years, we're able to stabilize it.
Ah, nice one.
But what are you doing to attract new artists into the organization? Because I know that you mentioned something about that some time ago. What are you doing to attract them?
We've been doing a whole lot of conferences, workshops. And again, we were concentrating, relating with the Record Label Association, the Artist Managers Association. So that's what we've been in blocks. We're relating with them. We're just a trade union, but there are other sub-associations. We're not an association, we're a trade union. We're the music union. So there are other music sub-associations. We're relating with them. Goman, Fuman, Juman, the whole of them. So apart from speaking to the musicians individually, the better route is to go through a whole group, through the association, through the unit, so that they can disseminate information to their artists. And with that, it's been working. So anybody that hasn't heard about the union, probably they are not belonging to these other sub-associations.
Okay, but I'm aware you have over 1 million members of PIMA.
1,600,000.
1,600,000. How far have you gone in ensuring the welfare of these artists? Because it's one thing to be a performing musician at your prime. It's another thing to be gaining something after you have made your mark in the sector.
What we created, we digitalized the whole system. So what we created is, once you're a member now, you can register via your, that's what technology provided for us. You can register via your phone, laptop, and all that. Once you become a card-carrying member of the biometric registration, that means automatically you have healthcare insurance, right, with the HMOs. You have life insurance. In case of disability or permanent death, the next of kin of the musician takes that. You have pension plan for the aged. Once they are above 65, 70, and they want to retire from our active performance, they get 100K per month. So this has been happening. So that's why when you're not a member, most of them are still card-carrying member of the old PIMA.
Okay.
And so that they are not on the database. And if you're not on the database, there's nothing we can do. Because once you're on the database, automatically you start getting those covers from these HMOs.
So you have to register every year, right?
No. You register once, but you renew every year.
Oh, you renew every year?
Yes.
Okay.
Now let's talk about record labels and artists. So let's say I am a new artist and I want to sign with a record label. What should I look out for in the contract presented to me?
Year of the contract. Once it's above 3 years or above 5 years, is a red line. Don't go for it. Okay. Because after 5 years, you're supposed to have back your right of your work. That's the truth. Then also look out for provision of next of kin, because anything can happen. Once you are not around, you're not in existence anymore, who manages your estates? So your estate is your catalog, your everything, your royalties, from your mechanical to your performance to your needle time royalty to your digital royalties and all that, to your synchronization license. So somebody will need to manage all that aspect. So if there's no provision for that, in any recording deal, any recording contract, run.
Well, we see a situation where artists get this contract. They don't read through. A lot of them do not have lawyers, and they just sign.
Excitement, one, and wanting to get out of poverty, number two. So sometimes you don't blame them. I won't blame them. It happened to me and
These
Junior.
record labels take advantage.
It happened to me and Junior. So I will never, the only thing is to send out more information, educate them so they will understand. Your first contract guides who you're going to be in the industry. So it's either it's well taken care of, or you will do work like 2, 3, 4, and you find out that your other mates are above you. Meanwhile, your work is selling more than the rest. So excitement, also not being able to consult one because they want to get out of, I use the word again, they want to get out of poverty. So they're not speaking to a lawyer, or they don't have money to contact a lawyer. But even when we started, we didn't even pay a lawyer. But we got our contract, look for a friend that knows a lawyer and all that, and we related. So they are willing to help. I know about that when it comes to legal people. They want to help, and they will share whatever comes in. They will take commission from your contract. So they will need to learn how to be open and speak to people. Share, but again, they say witchcraft. They don't want anybody to be following their destiny, so they don't want to speak to. So, but this is the backlash.
Okay, but I do want to ask. We had an interview with Brian Moore some weeks ago, 1 or 2 months ago, and he was like, the record label he was signed to, Chocolate City, is owing him money, but that they are saying that he owes them money. So I want to ask, what kind of things could happen to warrant such a situation, and what can be done?
If you sign a record deal, so they need to pay attention to their contract. If you sign a record deal and it says for 5 years, there's a clause there. You will release 5 albums for 5 years, or you release 3 albums for 5 years, or you release 2 albums for 5 years. So when it's 5 years and you want to go out and you haven't completed your release of album, the numbers of album you're supposed to release, you're owing the record label.
How do you release those kind of number of albums? It's a creative enterprise.
It is.
3 albums in 5 years.
You can't.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if you remember Don Jazzy and the band, they were releasing every year.
At the time, the industry wasn't as big as this production-wise.
Well, they signed the contract. That's what she asked. They signed the contract. So if you need to pay attention to contracts, you don't come out of contract and assuming people will support you when there's already something binding both of you. You need to pay attention to your contract. Is it a contract for 10 years, saying you're going to release 10 albums, or saying you're going to release 5 albums? So these are the clauses. So when it comes to our table, now we will fault the contract and fault the lawyer, right? And fault the musician, and also fault the record label. Did you explain to this dude that he's tied on for 5 years, but he's going to release 5 albums or 3 albums? Sometimes they will do 1 album, the album is huge. They'll believe, maybe they've made their money, me, I'm tired. Do you understand? So these are all the reason why PMAN is created, why we bring the whole of them to the table, bring our legal team and sort it out.
So looking at the contract, what is the ideal contractual agreement? What number of years? What number of albums?
Now, it depends on the record label and also depend on the artist, right? So if they are not so, I want to be a superstar, they will look at the contract. Is this for 5 years and for 5 albums? Can I make 5 albums in 5 years? Or then they will tweak the contract, because once they give you a draft, it's not binding. You need to go look at it, look for a lawyer to peruse it properly, right? So what I can do as an artist is 5 years contract, but 3 albums or 2 albums. I've seen artists that do 1 album 5 years. Now they are doing 1 album for 5 years. You know what? The artist will be collecting his royalties from these people. So he's going to be collecting his royalties for 5 years from this record company, his publishing royalties, his mechanical royalties, his performance royalties. They'll be sharing, they'll be splitting it, right? The master royalty is actually what the record label owns and shares with the artist. So these other ones I just mentioned are recurring royalties for the musicians. So once that is outlined, the musician can now say, okay, after 5 years with this 1 album, I don't want to do again. But it must be stated. So when it's not stated, that's when you see problems. The artist will believe, I'm too big for this record label, I want to move to a better one, but you are still owing them album releases. Or the record label have collected, recouped all their expenses, and they want to make their profit, but they will still want to retain the artist. So that's where we come in, which is also wrong, which is also legal. If you've covered what you've spent, because everything you've spent must be tabled. I spent so million, billion on your promotion, on your record, on your printing and all that, on your house, your car and all that. So, but when you've collected enough from and made your profit, you should let the artist go. If the artist really want to go.
Looking at, when you were performing actively with Junior and Pretty, actually you were very young at the time, say like 15, 16,
You're
right?
correct.
Yeah. So you were very young at the time, and I was always listening to the music. How did both of you handle these situations back then?
Did we handle it well? No, we didn't, because we're teenagers, we're quite young, and we had smokes coming out of our heads, so we're like...
You're going on tours everywhere.
We're heady.
Bolanle was a huge...
Yes, but we didn't make royalties. We didn't make revenues. We only made that money everybody was talking about. We made a whole lot of money from concerting.
Okay.
Right? So we had issue with Storm, because Storm was our first record company, because the album was bigger than them. They couldn't produce enough material to sell to the public. That's why bootleggers took over. But we didn't understand all that. So we're mad, we want to collect royalties, we want to go and fight, until our manager said, no, why are you guys going to go and fight? What is wrong with you people? Go and report them to P-Man. Because we're members of P-Man. We registered in 1990. So that was when I knew, okay, there's a structure in the industry. We went to P-Man, and P-Man called their attention, and we discussed it. We were just on a table, we discussed it, and we went back. So it was even the same Storm that now brokered for us to be signed by a bigger record label, which is Polygram. Do you understand? Yeah. They gave us the avenue and the platform. So when we now registered, and we now had an agreement with Polygram, Storm signed us with 5,000. Polygram signed us with 250,000.
Wow.
Guy, 5,000 now.
Well, back then was big money.
5 billion. So Polygram signed us with 250,000. So it was huge. It was like I was a multi-billionaire at that time. So but we started learning how to deal with record labels and how to be an artist. Right? And also listening to managers. What they have now are not managers. They have errand boys working with them. So the managers can't even talk to the artists. So it's difficult to handle them.
So do we have popular musicians? Because we see the likes of Davido, Tiwa Savage, Wizkid, and likes. Are they members of P-Man?
Some of the A-listers are members. Some are not. But I'll tell you something. Before they went to play abroad, P-Man gave them a cover letter.
But they're supposed to be members of P-Man to get that.
So before I became P-Man president, there's been underplay. They've been getting authority, notary letter. But when I got in and I like, so all the ones that I gave notary letter for their tour work permits. They are all PIMA members.
Okay.
The whole of them because the embassies will demand you to get a notary cover from your music union before they will issue you a visa or before they will prepare your work permit. So all those ones that I gave are PIMA members because it's automatic. You must register, show your receipt of biometric registration. Then I signed the notary letter. But before I became the PIMA president, they were doing a whole lot of stuff that.
Okay, so some weeks ago, I'm about to drag it to another conversation, but forgive me. Some weeks ago, Mr. Ibu announced that he was sick and that he needed support and all, and then there was a debate about how actors and the film industry doesn't help their retired or their veteran members. So I want to ask, in the case of PIMAN, do you guys have, should I say, the opportunity or the resources to help musicians who eventually maybe fall sick or when they're retired anyways, fall sick and are unable to work and maybe don't have the resources to treat themselves properly?
Yes, we have. That was the first thing we put together. And how am I going to use the word? We're infunded. You see, we've never depended on the government or corporate bodies to run the union. That's one thing I changed when I came in. Because of my background, and again, I'm not this beggarly type. So I abolished going to do courtesy visit, collecting handouts and brand envelope. I shut it down. So we created a system where we can fund ourselves. That's why you mentioned that we're a whole lot now. So the property you guys saw is actually infunded by members through the registration. So once they are registered, we are getting money and we're keeping money for that. But you cannot get that benefit if you're not a registered member. That is what my constitution says. So you must be a registered member. So when you have these issues, we will take it off. We'll pay off the bill. We'll fly you out. Because I said we're even dealing with HMOs. Do you understand? Yes. So we've made it so easy that as a member, you don't even have to go to any hospital. You just need to go to your platform and check which HMO is close to or which hospital is close to your place, and that's it. You don't even have to call the president. It's a structure that is already working.
Okay.
So in the case of agreements now, what is the place of next of kin? Because you mentioned that if a contract doesn't have the provision for the next of kin, it's a bad contract. So I want to ask, who do you think should be put? Maybe a family member or a best friend or something. So I want you to explore that next of kin subject a bit more.
Thank you. It's a tricky one. Next of kin should be your wife.
If you're married.
If you're married. If you're not married, should be your brother.
Or your sister.
If you don't have brother, you don't have sister, it should be your father or your mother.
Okay.
Right? Because you need to keep people, if you don't provide that aspect, you don't know what can happen. That means the record label will actually eat and profit from all your sweat. So it's not going back to your family. It's a must. I would not advise any artist without a clause in their contract for provision of next of kin. In fact, provision of next of kin should be even provision of the managers of your estate. Meaning, if anything happens, I have this name of this person, my wife, my father, my brother, my sister, or my wife, my son, my daughter, to manage my estate. Because the money that you make from concerting is a minute one, but the money that comes from your residual income is huge. So we understand that the record labels are surviving. They are huge. They are making billions because some of the artists don't even pay attention to the residual income. They are only depending on concerting and the master royalties. But once they pay attention to the other revenue points that are bigger than the master royalties or bigger than the concerting revenue, they will understand that they are leaving a whole lot of money on the table.
Wow. Okay, so final questions from me, and of course we're for want of time. Looking at the industry, how big is the music industry in Nigeria?
Big. I just came back from America. I went from Nigeria to UK. That's where I purchased the radio equipment.
Okay.
They play about 78-80% of our work.
Wow.
In the UK. In America, they play, I don't know, there's a problem in America. They practically play 90% of our work. So, and again, I was opportune to be in America when they were doing 50th anniversary of the hip hop. And their major problem was Afrobeat is taking over hip hop. But I was just quiet, I was just smiling, I was just happy, I was somewhere else, right? Because it was predetermined project that me and Juno started. How can we change and position our music to outsell reggae, outsell hip hop? It was our teenage dream, and it's happening. So our music industry is huge. We have uncollected trillions of dollars. That's basically why I keep going back and forth to
Uncollected all around the world.
all around the world.
Collected too.
Wow. Okay, we have to collect it. Thank you very much, Pretty Okafor, the president of the Performing Musicians Employers Association of Nigeria.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for talking to us this morning. Thank you. Very instructive for everything you have said. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
All right, that's it for entertainment at this time. We'll hand over to Mark Otabo and the crew for some sporting updates. Stay tuned.